I can't marry a nobody like you." The words rang through the church like a gunshot. The groom, Richard Hale, threw down the microphone, his face twisted with disgust. Laughter rippled through the crowd as Elena Marquez stood frozen at the altar, her hands trembling around the white bouquet. The scent of lilies and candle wax filled the air, but everything felt suffocating. Her simple gown, no lace, no jewels, clung to her frame, honest and unpretentious. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass, painting her in colors she didn't feel. She didn't look at Richard. She didn't need to. His cowardice filled the room like smoke. The whispers started quickly, her name, her past, her lack of pedigree. Elena Marquez, the orphan, the girl with no family, no right to stand here. The laughter grew. Some guests smiled cruelly. Others looked away, ashamed to witness humiliation. Still, she didn't cry. Her mother once told her dignity wasn't given. It was held. And she would hold hers now. The night before had already warned her. The Hale estate sparkled under chandeliers like ice. Elena had worn a modest gray dress among a sea of silk and diamonds. Whispers trailed her every step. An orphan, one woman hissed behind her champagne glass. How did she even get invited? A man beside her smirked. Richard must be slumming it. At the dessert table, a girl no older than 20 grinned sharply. "You must be so excited," she said. "Marrying into the Hales. That's a miracle for someone like you." Elena sipped her water, gazed calm. A miracle's only needed when you doubt what's real. The girl's smile faltered, retreating to her giggling friends. Richard's mother, Margaret Hale, arrived soon after, pearls gleaming like warning lights. "You do understand, my dear," she murmured. "This marriage is an opportunity, not a guarantee." Elena met her eyes, gave a single nod, not agreement, acknowledgement. Margaret's lips pursed in annoyance. Nearby, Richard's ex Vanessa laughed softly. "She's a climber. No family, no name, just claw her way up." Elena stood still, staring at the floor, counting tiles to keep her composure, when a drunken businessman cornered her near the balcony. His words dripped with arrogance. "You're cute," he said, "but out of your league. Stick to your kind." "My kind?" Elena's voice was quiet, but sharp, the kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. He blinked, retreating into silence. That night, when she returned to her small apartment, a black SUV waited at the curb. A man stepped out, handed her an envelope, and said, "Tomorrow you'll need this truth." Inside was a worn photograph. Elena, in military uniform, standing with a unit of soldiers. Her breath caught. She hadn't seen that image in years. She'd buried that part of her life. The part that ended when a mission went wrong and her name was erased to protect someone else. The man vanished before she could ask a single question. She sat awake until dawn, the photo burning in her hands. Then she folded it gently beside her old dog tag. She didn't know why it mattered now, but somehow she felt the storm coming. Now it was here, in the church. Richard's voice echoed again. "I can't marry someone with no family, no standing, nothing." The crowd gasped and laughed. Vanessa clapped mockingly. "Told you, she's a parasite." Someone shouted, "Look at that dress. Bargain bin bride." Elena stood straight, bouquet trembling but her gaze unwavering. Her silence made the laughter falter. A photographer stepped forward, snapping photos greedily. "This'll be front page gold. Nobody bride ditched at the altar." Elena turned to him, voice low but cutting. "Is that what you see?" He froze, camera lowering. The crowd's energy shifted. The laughter dimmed. The whispers turned uneasy. Then a smooth voice rose from the front pew. Senator Victoria Kane, silver-haired, elegant, venomous. "A failed soldier, wasn't it?" she asked. "If you were so great, why'd you leave the military?" The room hummed with speculation. "Maybe she deserted," someone muttered. Richard, emboldened, sneered. "Hero? Please." It was all fake. Elena didn't move, didn't speak. Then the ground shook. Outside, the roar of engines filled the air. The church doors burst open as dozens of black SUVs screeched to a halt. A flood of tactical soldiers stormed inside, boots pounding the marble in perfect formation. Gasps erupted. Guests ducked, clutching their pearls and phones. At their head stood Commander Blake Rowe, his expression carved from stone. He stopped before Elena. "Captain Marquez," he said, "clearly, it's time you reclaimed your name." The church fell into stunned silence. Elena's bouquet slipped from her hands, petals scattering like tears. Her shoulders straightened, instinctively, like a soldier remembering her post. Richard went pale. Vanessa's smirk vanished. A young SEAL stepped forward, trembling as he saluted. "Ma'am, you saved my brother." He said you carried him 2 miles under fire. He handed her an envelope. Elena's fingers brushed his. "Thank you," she whispered. The soldier stepped back. 1,000 boots snapped to attention in unison. The sound rolled through the church like thunder. Blake faced the crowd. "You all judged a woman you never knew." He opened a folder stamped with red seals. 5 years ago, Captain Marquez led a covert rescue operation. Over 100 soldiers survived because of her. The mission was buried, called a failure, to protect those who profited from her silence. A murmur spread through the guests. Elena's jaw tightened. The truth she'd buried was finally breathing. A woman in a blue shawl scoffed. "If she's such a hero, why hide behind plain clothes? It's all too convenient." Elena met her eyes. "Hiding or living without needing your approval?" The woman blushed and sat down. Senator Kane stood again, voice shaking. "This is slander. A failed soldier isn't a hero. It's all a stunt." Richard found his voice. "Yeah, you're still nothing. A fake." A reporter raised his hand, smirking. "Captain, my sources say you were discharged for cowardice." Care to comment? Elena looked at him. "Sources? Or stories you paid for?" The man flushed and sat down. Blake stepped closer, holding the folder out to her. "You tell them." Elena opened it slowly. "The mission was real," she said, voice calm. "The lives were real. But the truth was buried to protect someone else." Her eyes locked on Kane. "You gave the order, didn't you?" Gasps rippled across the room. Kane's silence was answer enough. Elena remembered it all. The smoke, the screams, the blood. She'd carried men out of a burning convoy, refused a retreat, promised honor, then erased. Now, in this church of judgment, she was reclaiming what was hers. The crowd buzzed, torn between disbelief and awe. Margaret Hale stood, shouting, "This spectacle is over. My son." But her words dissolved into the roar of command boots. Elena placed a folder on the altar. "Calm. Steady." A woman sneered from the back. "Even if it's true, she's still nobody. No name, no family." Elena's voice was soft but firm. "A name? I earned mine in blood and dirt. What did you earn yours with?" Silence. Blake raised his hand. "There's more." He faced the crowd. The order to bury the mission came from Senator Kane. Millions in contracts, all built on her lies. The church erupted. Cameras flashed. Kane turned ashen. Elena looked at her, not in anger, but in pity. "So my name was erased to protect a traitor." Kane tried to speak, but no sound came. Richard, desperate, shouted, "You're still an orphan. No one will ever love you." Elena turned to him. "You don't get to decide that." Her words hit harder than any slap. The room went still. The church doors were still open. The roar of engines outside faded into a respectful silence as news crews swarmed the steps. What began as a wedding humiliation had become a battlefield of truth. Elena stood at the center of it, the train of her wedding gown dusted with marble and fallen petals. The air was tense, the crowd waiting to see what she would do next. Commander Blake Rowe took a step closer. "Captain," he said quietly, "your country owes you more than an apology." He handed her a medal wrapped in a velvet box. "For bravery beyond command." Elena didn't take it first. Her fingers trembled. "They told me it didn't exist," she whispered. "It didn't, until we found the files you buried to protect us," Blake replied. "You kept silent when you could have destroyed careers. That's not weakness. Elena, that's loyalty." The room had gone utterly silent. Even the air seemed to pause. She finally took the medal, holding it up, not to boast, but to end the story that haunted her. Loyalty isn't a weakness, she said softly. It's a promise kept even when no one believes you. A few guests stood, clapping hesitantly. Then more, and more, until the whole church was filled with applause. Not mockery this time, but respect. Vanessa dropped her champagne glass, the sharp crack echoing through the hall. Richard's face burned with humiliation. He lunged forward, voice cracking. You think this changes anything? You're still beneath me. Blake stepped between them in one swift motion. One more word, and you'll be beneath my command, son. The soldiers tensed, waiting for his cue. Richard froze, swallowed, and backed away. Margaret Hale, trembling, grabbed her son's arm. Richard, enough? She whispered, eyes locked on Elena. Not with hate now, but disbelief. I never knew. Elena's voice softened. You never asked. Margaret looked away, tears threatening. Outside, journalists were already shouting questions through the doors. Captain Marquez, is it true Senator Kane ordered the cover-up? Are you going back to service? What happens now? Blake signaled to his men. Stand down. No cameras inside. The soldiers moved, shielding Elena as they cleared a path. But Elena didn't move. Not yet. Her gaze swept the crowd, the same people who had mocked her minutes ago. You all came for a wedding, she said, but maybe you got something better. Someone called out, What's that? The truth, she replied, and that's worth more than a ring. By the time she stepped outside, the late afternoon light had shifted to gold. The streets were crowded with reporters, cameras, and bystanders, all whispering the same name, Captain Elena Marquez. Blake walked beside her. You're free now, he said. We reopened your record. You receive full honors. Elena nodded, but her voice was distant. Freedom isn't about medals. It's about knowing I didn't lose myself. Blake smiled faintly. Still the same soldier. Still human, she replied. A black car pulled up. The driver opened the door. But before she got in, a voice called out from across the street. Elena! She turned. A young man in a gray suit was running toward her, clutching a small envelope. He stopped breathless and held it out. This was found in your old locker at base, he said. They said it was personal. Elena opened it slowly. Inside was a faded letter, written in her own handwriting, dated the day before her final mission. If anything happens to me, tell them I did it because I believe people are worth saving, even the ones who won't ever say thank you. Her throat tightened. The wind carried the scent of dust and lilies from the church. For the first time in years, she let herself smile. 3 weeks later, a veterans hospital in Chicago buzzed softly with the sound of distant monitors. Elena walked to the hall in civilian clothes, jeans, a loose white shirt, her dog tags now resting openly around her neck. She paused by a room where a group of recovering soldiers were watching the news. On screen, Senator Victoria Kane faces federal inquiry for classified mission scandal. One of the men noticed her and saluted weakly. Captain Marquez? She smiled. Just Elena now. The young soldier grinned. You're the reason my brother came home. Her chest tightened. Then that's enough for me. When she turned to leave, Blake was waiting at the door. You're trending in half the world, he said. She chuckled softly. I used to want to be invisible. And now I just want peace. He hesitated. You could come back, lead a new division. Train recruits. You have a place waiting. Elena looked past him through the hospital window, where autumn leaves drifted down like fading embers. Maybe someday, she said. But for now, I think I need to remember who I am when I'm not saving anyone. Blake nodded. Then let the world do the saving for a change. That evening, she returned to her small apartment, the same one she lived in before everything fell apart. But this time it felt different. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. On the table lay a box of letters, some from soldiers, others from strangers who had seen her story and written to say thank you. One was from Margaret Hale. I was wrong about you. I raised my son to value status, not strength. I see now which one truly lasts. If you ever forgive us, know that I will be honored to call you daughter, not by marriage, but by respect. Elena folded the letter gently. Respect is earned, she murmured. But maybe forgiveness can be too. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. From Daniel Hale. I don't care what they said about you. I was in the same convoy that day. You saved us. I never forgot. Her breath caught. Daniel, Richard's older brother, the one presumed dead. A photo followed. It was him, standing on a rehab center balcony, alive, scarred, but smiling. If you're ever in New York, come see me. I owe you more than words. Elena stared at the screen, then typed back simply. You owe me nothing. But maybe we both deserve to start over. Weeks turned into months. Elena found work at a local youth center, helping teenagers from broken homes find structure and purpose. She never wore her medals there, just her smile and her patience. One evening, while locking up, she found a single white lily left at the door, tied with a note. Heroes don't need stages, just heart, DH. She looked up at the sky, pink and gold with sunset, and let the wind lift her hair. For the first time, she didn't feel like the orphan who'd been rejected, or the soldier who'd been erased, or the bride who'd been humiliated. She was simply Elena Marquez, the woman who had lost everything and still stood tall. Months later, at a quiet ceremony, she stood again in a church. No cameras, no applause, just silence and candlelight. Blake pinned the medal to her jacket, then stepped back. Captain Marquez, he said, the record now bears your name. Officially, permanently. Elena looked down at the medal, its metal gleaming softly. I don't need the record, she said. I just need to know the truth can't be buried again. He smiled, and now it won't. She turned to leave, her boots echoing softly on the marble. Outside, rain began to fall, gentle, cleansing, endless. As she stepped into it, she whispered to herself, some storms don't destroy, they reveal. And for the first time in her life, she let the rain fall without running for cover.